Hey guys, Tomboy61, and today we have the Yukikaze, the reward ship, if you will, the penultimate, the best reward from the Stellar Clash event. It's a ship that can't really be bought, but it can be bought. We'll talk about that. Anyways, Wargaming provided the ship for review, so I guess this makes this video technically sponsored by Wargaming. Before we head into the review, let's go ahead and talk comment of the day. Comment of the day goes out to someone who leaves a comment on one of our previous videos. Today's comment of the day goes out to Chris Carter. He says, still no stellar crates available. Yeah, so I guess Wargaming messed up this morning when they initially launched the stellar crates. They had some sort of description about a Yamato legendary camo being available, and they needed to change something. It seemed like it was as simple as a description, but I feel like if they could have been making money selling crates, they would have, and it would have been real quick and over. Obviously, it's still offline. We will see when this video posts tomorrow if it's fixed or how long it takes them to fix. But as of right now, Stellar Crates still not available. They put out a statement on the Discord if you want to take a look at it. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the Yukikaze. Yukikaze, she's going to cost you 12,500 of the stellar dollars from the stellar from the event that's currently going on. Now, if you do everything that you can to get it for free, you still won't be able to earn it. If you do every single daily challenge and all of the free missions, you will not be able to get to that 12,500. So you will need to purchase one of the missions for 4,000 doubloons. There are 3 different missions, and each mission will grant you 4,500 of the stellar dollars. Now, here is a fun little thing. One, just be warned, in order to fully complete it, you do need a ship up to legendary tier. Each of the captains are going to represent one kind of ship. So the battleship commander, you're going to need a legendary tier battleship. The destroyer commander, you're going to need a legendary tier destroyer. And the cruiser commander, you're going to need a legendary tier destroyer. Anyways, if you do the math, there's 3 of them. 3 times 4,500 is 13,500, giving you a surplus of 1,000 of these space bucks. And there's 4 of them for 4,000 credits, which gives you 12,000 doubloons is what you will need to spend, which is right in line for what a tier 6 premium destroyer usually costs. It's usually in that 12,000 doubloon range. So if you think about it, if you don't want to play Stellar Clash and you really want the Yukikaze, you can do the missions. The missions aren't required to be done in Stellar Clash. They're just regular missions. They're done in standard, and they're relatively easy compared to grinding through Stellar Clash. So if you really want the Yukikaze, that is one option for you. And if you are a fan of Japanese destroyers, I have a feeling you're going to want this ship because honestly, I feel like it should be in the same tier as its counterpart, as its twin ship, the Kagero. It is in the same class as the Kagero as far as history goes, and it has better stats in most regards than the Kagero, but it's a tier 6. And the last time I checked, we could really use some additional tier 7 destroyers because Udachi is the only tier 7 premium destroyer. But anyways, I digress. Let's dive on to the stats. Yukikaze, she has 15,100 hit points with an armor of 6 in 20 millimeters. I'll go and throw the armor view up. I'm not going to talk through it. It's a destroyer. It has thin armor. It has thicker armor where you would expect it. Not much to really talk about there. 0 torpedo reduction. We all know that makes sense. Main battery, three 2-barreled guns that are 127 millimeter with a firing range of 10.4 kilometers. Reload time on that, 7.5 seconds, which gives you about 48 shells per minute. 180 time is abysmally slow. This is like the weakest point of this whole ship at 26.1 seconds. HE damage 2150, one of the highest HE damages per shell at the tier. It's surprising how much damage these HE shells go. Anyways, 9% chance to catch fire, AP damage 2200, so you're only losing 50 damage by using AP or by using HE. So once again, stick with HE, don't use AP. Giving you a damage per minute of 105,600. Of course, it being a destroyer does not have secondaries, unlike our wonderful Orkan. Torpedoes, which are the star of its show, 2 4-barreled launchers that have a reload time of 104 seconds. Damage on them, highest at the tier, 21,367. That's right. 21,000 damage per torpedo hit. It is a truck when it hits these torpedoes. Detectability range on those 1.8 kilometers with a speed of 76 knots. The range 8 kilometers, which can sometimes get you in trouble. Max speed of the ship 35 knots with a turning radius of 640. Rudder shift time 2.7. Detectability by sea 6.3, which is better than the Kagero. Once again, I really think this thing should have lived its life as a tier 7. Detectability by air 3.3 and detectability in smoke 2.5 kilometers. Overall, it's a Japanese destroyer boat. Highlights are it has really powerful torpedoes that you can buff a little bit more with the appropriate commanders, and that's probably going to be the one you're going to end up running anyways. It's a torpedo boat that matches or beats its counterpart, the Kagero, in most respects. The only thing it doesn't beat Kagero in: torpedo range. Kagero has a 10 kilometer torp. It has a 8 kilometer torp. Detectability range on the torp, Kagero 1.7 kilometers less. That abysmal turret traverse speed that we talked about earlier. And then fire rate on the guns is the only other thing it beats out. It is worse at than the Kagero, 6.8 compared to 7.5, but that's right in the realm of what they're using to balance these things between tier 6 and tier 7. Beyond that, I kind of feel like the Yukikaze is a superior ship, which is kind of surprising because it's a tier 6. Next, let's go ahead and talk about the commander, mods, consumables, all of that fun stuff. I'm running Tanaka. No surprise there. Buff the torpedoes. It's already a torpedo boat. You're going to run that. And of course, we're doing the double concealment build, Eric Bay and Swirsky. Base trait for Tanaka is going to be Hull Crusher, which increases the damage of your torpedoes. Then I went Subsurface Venture, which reduces the torpedo launcher's reload time and increases the torpedo travel speed. It increases destroyer and main battery reload time. It also, then I'm running Fragile Threat, which reduces the detectability range of your destroyer, but increases the maximum decreases the maximum HP of the ship. Followed by Torpedo Safari, which increases the torpedo range of any ship type, but reduces the main battery range for the destroyer. Then Smoke on the Water, which increases the smoke screen deployment time as well as its dispersion time. And then Unstoppable, which reduces engine repair time and gain reduced mobility with a disabled engine. So that way you're never really fully knocked out as far as being knocked from your. You still have maneuverability even when your engine gets disabled. Let's go ahead and talk about those mods and then the consumables. So the mods that I'm using in the first slot, I'm actually using main battery mod 2. Like we said, turret traverse speed is abysmal, and we already have not the best guns in the game, not the fastest reloading ones. So I went ahead and ran main battery mod 2. That way you can at least kind of kite away / try to dodge while firing your gun still, because if not, this ship cannot keep up with the run and gun lifestyle that you need when you are spotted and you're just trying to like do some damage while you try to run behind an island so you get unspotted. Next, in mod slot 2, I'm running steering gears just to help with that sort of dodging. I don't think we really need damage control system or propulsion mod on this thing. And then finally, of course, I'm running concealment system, which is going to decrease that detectability range and increase firing dispersion. Nothing really surprising here. I think the only one that is a little surprising may be that first one of main battery mod 2. And then the loadout, let's go and talk the consumables. Damage control party, 5-second duration with a 40-second reload time. Then smokes, it has 2 charges of smoke, 20.8 second duration with a 92.6 second dispersion time and a reload time of 240 seconds. And finally, engine boost, it's going to increase the max speed by 8%. It's going to last 120 seconds with a 180 second reload time, and there's going to be 2 charges of that. With all that said, let's go ahead and talk about what has changed with our build now. Hit points, of course, took a small hit, 13,970 as the base HP. Artillery, the firing range is down to 9.7 kilometers, but that can be a blessing in disguise when you're talking about stealth ships, because you can kind of exclude certain longer range ships from being able to see you if you can get a different destroyer to pop smoke. Anyways, 180 turn time down to 22.7. Of course, we wanted to buff that because of how abysmally slow it was to begin with. Torpedoes, range on them is up to 8.7 kilometers, with a alpha strike now of 22,061, reload time down to 91.5 seconds. Some decent improvements there. And finally, concealment. We've now gotten our concealment down to 4.8 kilometers, a sub 5 kilometer detectability by sea, which is what you always want to see with these stealthy torpedo boats. With all that said, let's go ahead and talk the history of this ship. Now, during the Pacific War, the attrition rate of Japanese destroyers was extremely high due to prolonged combat and the need to use them to transport supplies to the scattered Japanese island garrisons. Early in the war, Yukikaze took part in the invasions of the Philippines, the Dutch East Indies. She participated in the battles of Midway, Santa Cruz, Leyte Gulf, Philippine Sea, as well as a lengthy stint at Guadalcanal, doing troop runs and the naval battles around that island. Yukikaze also survived Operation Tengo, during which the battleship Yamato was sunk. Between these major engagements, Yukikaze participated in escort duty for the ships in transit, particularly in the redeployment of aircraft carrier Shinao, during which the newly completed carrier was torpedoed by a U.S. Navy submarine and sunk. She spent the last months of the war on security duty in Japanese harbor and survived many Allied air raids. As a result of participating in and surviving some of the most dangerous battles in the IJN had fought, the Yukikaze is a very popular ship in Japan, being called the unsinkable ship or the miracle ship, much like the Shigeru prior to that ship's sinking by the USS Blackfin. Yukikaze took part in more than 10 major battles and also more than 100 escort missions and resupply transport missions during World War II, and she was the only ship of her class to survive the full war. She was eventually then repatriated or given away as war reparations to China, and that is where her fate kind of ended. Definitely a cool ship that is filled with unique naval history, and one that is cool that it is in the game. It's just one that, you know, is going to be a little hard to get if you're not willing to fork out the cash. Let's go ahead and take a look at a game in the Yukikaze now, and we can go ahead and talk through that. So here we are on Trident. It's going to be what I consider to be a fairly typical Japanese destroyer game that is middle of the road. We still end up taking top spot on the team, but I have to say, Japanese destroyers not my favorite because it's just not a gameplay style I am 100% in love with. But here we go. Anyways, Nagato gets spotted. Battleships kind of have a choice here. They don't want to sail down the center just because of the destroyers, so they can either go center or they can flank out towards that island and try to kind of round the corner and try to get better angles on everyone else, get those establishing crossfires. So for us, it's all about waiting to see what path he chooses and exploiting that path, getting in range, and hopefully being able to lay some torps down for when he does it. He's going to go ahead and flank out wide, so we're going to go ahead and lay some torps in the way for him, just as a little gift for him as he goes wide, and hopefully we can get, a couple of torp hits. We're going to go ahead and hide behind this island. Surprisingly, we haven't been spotted yet. We see some torpedoes pop out that way. That tells us, of course, we have another enemy destroyer nearby, and he's most likely going to be one of the more stealthy ones because we didn't spot each other. That means we probably both have fairly good concealment, and he was probably hidden behind that island by the time I got close enough, and we're going to need to be on top of that. But the good thing about that is we won't need to worry too much, because if he's like a Japanese destroyer, that means his guns are going to be just as bad as our guns. We take 2 good old hits on the Nagato, and something surprising happens. We go ahead and get a flood to stick this early in the game. I guess he got lit on fire and wasn't expecting to be caught. So, hey, we'll go ahead and take advantage of that. We'll also go ahead and fire a couple rounds, because might as well. We're going to hide behind this island anyways. And this shows what I was talking about as far as it can be very useful to have a very short range firing range for your guns, because that Nagato was the only one who could see us, and we knew we could easily disengage behind that island. Pensacola, if we had longer range guns, probably would have seen us at that point and had a very valid target to shoot at right now. But because he wasn't in range of those guns, we're able to go ahead and keep up our concealment. So sometimes having the best range of guns isn't the best, especially when you're in these smaller destroyers. Anyways, Pensacola and Nuremberg decide to stack up, so we're going to go ahead and lay torpedoes on their paths. Pensacola's starting to turn in, so we're going to go ahead and get prepared. Looking around, Fubuki is who that enemy destroyer ends up being. Go ahead and fire torps his way, just because we know Fubuki not exactly the most maneuverable ship. So if we can go ahead and exploit that and get a torpedo hit on him, that would be nice, just to eliminate that fellow destroyer threat, kind of knock him off the board if we can. Nuremberg starts to see our torps, and it's just going to be slightly too late, takes it on the nose, and that is another hit. 63,000 torp damage, 3 hits, over, you know, that's about 20,000 per hit, which is what the alpha strike of these torpedoes are. Once again, very, very powerful torps. And Pensacola is now going to start chasing us, and we're going to let him, because when someone gets fixated on a target, when someone has a plan, they're going to sail in a straight line, and that's where we take advantage. We just need to make sure we stay out ahead of him and don't get spotted. Now, this is where we're going to have to take a look at the map and look at our center of the map, because our friendly destroyers have decided to clear a path, and their team has sort of overloaded this side. We have very limited gun capacity, so our job and our game plan now for the rest of this game is delay. Delay. Let those destroyers go up top, see if they can go ahead and cap that while we delay this area and kind of distract and try to hold off. And that's what we're going to do now. As I was saying earlier, Japanese destroyer gameplay, not exactly my favorite thing to play. I'm not a huge fan of just the keep everyone spotted and run away. I know it's effective, but for me as a player, it's not as satisfying as I'd like it to be. Pensacola dodges our first salvo of torps and then turns out, so we're going to go ahead, fire that second salvo. He takes 1 hit from our friendly cruiser's torpedoes. Sadly, they don't sink him, but we do have torpedoes on the way, and we're the last man over on this side, but our team is now capping the cap, which means they're going to try to start forcing our cap. We take out Pensacola, and now there is a battleship, a cruiser, and a destroyer left on our side, and we're going to start just harassing, because their nearest asset is nowhere near us now. Their Fubuki most likely does not know where we are. In fact, he doesn't know where we are. We're not being notified that we've had a heading taken on us. So we can go ahead and hide out here and just start taking these pot shots with torpedoes. We do have a decent reload speed on those torpedoes, so we can absolutely do that. Nagato, we're waiting in range and just seeing if he plans or intends to do anything. There's the corpse of our former teammate, Fubuki. We are now spotting him, and he can't spot us. We are, of course, going to try to keep this up, just because if we can do that... Oh, it's not even Fubuki anymore. It's the mouse. We're going to go ahead and do that just to try to be a benefit to our team. If there's any cruisers, because we do have 2 cruisers that are still left on our team, if there's any cruisers in the area that want to take pot shots at him, now is the time. We go ahead and let those torpedoes to the Nagato go, because he seems to be very happy just sailing that straight line. I'm not sure what the full game plan was, but he's going to sail that straight line and pay the price, and we're just going to miss the sink on him. Literally just the tiniest sliver of health. But if you look up, we are still capping. Our 2 destroyers have are being not contested in their cap. So we are absolutely doing our time. We're burning down what we can, and we're gonna go ahead and launch the next salvo at the Nuremberg. And they don't know where we are. Like, once again, typical Japanese destroyer gameplay right here. Overall, Yukikaze, there we are. We get the win. Yukikaze, fun ship, decent ship. If you want it, I would say go buy all of the missions and grind it out in standard. I'm not a big fan of the Stellar Clash mode currently. You may be, but it is a very powerful ship. It is a very powerful Japanese destroyer boat. It's not a gameplay style I like, so I won't be getting it. But yeah, guys, that's Yukikaze. If you liked it, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.